I'd like to welcome all of you to our Mission Week Assembly. Before we introduce our main speaker for today's assembly, we are pleased to welcome back Father Marty Soma. As many of you recall, Father Marty is the current provincial of the Marianas Province of the United States. He spent 24 years living in Nairobi, Kenya, and eventually served as the manager or president of Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School. Father Soma led the overall development and programs for the school for 13 years. Today, he continues to support the 2,050 students who attend Our Lady of Nazareth by assisting with sponsorships, fundraising, and annual visits to the school. In his current role as the Marianas Provincial, Father Soma heads the entire Marianas Order for the United States. Recently, he was reinstated in this role and will continue serving as the Provincial for the next 3 years. So let's give a little round of applause to him. Let's give a big warm welcome to Father Marty Soma, who will introduce our main speaker for today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I was very happy to be here a year ago for a similar assembly and was delighted when Mr. Beckfar and the campus ministry invited me back with a guest. When Mr. Beckfar first called me and asked if this would be possible, he said, "Do you think there would be somebody else who could speak?" And I said, well, how about if we ask Maurice Otieno himself to come and share his story? So that was the beginning of this plan. But before I say a little bit, by way of introduction, I'd like to welcome and recognize a good friend of mine, Mr. Bob Snyder. Mr. Snyder is in the back there. Mr. Snyder is a first-class pilot, and he flies everywhere. And he's been a very good mentor for Maurice. So, Bob, thank you for coming this morning. I also want to thank Father Ralph. He's been a very good friend and supporter of our efforts in Eastern Africa. And thanks to Mr. Rohn and Mr. Goodry also for allowing us to organize this morning. I want to give just a little bit of historical background so you can put this in some kind of historical sequence. The members of the Society of Mary first went to Anglophone Africa in 1957. And in 1957, we were invited by the bishops, several bishops in Nigeria, to begin schools similar to the one here. They were mission schools to cater for primarily Catholic students in the areas of Nigeria. We ran those schools until the Civil War. There was a terrible civil war in the early 1970s. And in fact, we lost one of our brothers who was killed during that civil war. That was 1957. 1961, the Archbishop of Nairobi in Kenya invited the members of the Society of Mary to do a similar thing. So we went to Kenya in '61, we went to Malawi in 1963, and we went to Zambia in 1966. So that's, at one time we had almost 100 Marians teaching in Nigeria, Kenya, Malawi, and Zambia. So as we do here in St. Louis, we carry on an educational apostolate, and especially in these developing areas, it is probably the best thing that we can do to work at development. It's not just giving money, it's educating people. And that's what we've been dedicated to. In 1979, as the number of vocations began to decrease here in the United States, our superiors met in Lusaka, Zambia, the capital of Zambia, and they decided that if the Society of Mary were to have a future in Anglophone Africa, it would be by recruiting indigenous members of the Society of Mary. And that's why I was asked in 1982 to go, first of all, to Nigeria for 3 years, and then to Kenya for the next 24, building up African members of the Society of Mary. And that unit became independent in 2010. They have about 60 or 65 professed African Marianists now working in Kenya, Malawi, and Zambia. From the very beginning of my stay there, we have been concentrating on serving the educational needs of very poor areas. We started a women's program called Maria House to educate poor women from the slums, many of them pregnant, unmarried, so helping them through their pregnancies and then teaching them trades. A similar kind of program for post-primary school students who were poor from the slums called Shamana Training Center. It's a technical school. And in 1996, we took over the responsibility for a primary school right in the very center of a huge slum area called Mukuru Kwanjenga. It was begun in about 5 years earlier by the Irish Sisters of Mercy. These women had a real sense that if we were going to help very poor people, we educate them. So they started these informal schools, basically running them with high school graduates. And in 1996, they were not able to do it anymore. They had started 5 of these, so they were looking for someone to take responsibility. So in December of 1996, we took responsibility for this primary school, and the very first thing we did was to improve it, to paint. It was all made from iron sheets and so on, mud everywhere down in the slums. So we painted the buildings, we set sidewalks, we planted trees, we planted flowers, and we upgraded the whole educational program. In 1996, we probably had 850 students. Now, as Mr. Bekvar said, there's more than 2,000. All of these children receiving a very fine Catholic and Marianist primary education. I first met Maurice when he was in 2nd grade. When we started our school in 1997, January 1997, Maurice was in the 2nd grade. And he was a very good student. He was the head boy of the school when he finished in 2003. Head boy is like the government, the president of the student government. So he was the head boy. He did very well in his national exam. We were able to get him a sponsor to go to Mangu High School, which the Marianists ran for many years, and it's among the best schools in the country. And when he finished at Mangu High School, the people who were supporting him continued so that he was able to go on to the university. His marks on the national exam at the end of secondary school were high enough to get into the university. Only about 5% of those who finish secondary school get into a university there. So it's a very thin band of people. So Maurice had a very good opportunity. In December of 2013, he was awarded a bachelor's degree in commerce, and his dream was to be a pilot. And I'm going to let him tell you that story. Very delighted that he could be here today. He began his flight school 1 year ago, January 2014, at Phoenix East Aviation in Daytona Beach, Florida. So I'd like you to welcome Mr. Maurice Otieno.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm not used to speaking in front of so many people. I kind of get nervous sometimes, but today I'll have to give my story without any fear or being nervous. My name is Maurice Otieno, and I'm from Nairobi, Kenya, like Father Martin said. And I'm a graduate of Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School, a school that you've helped supported in the past. Okay, before I go further, Please allow me to begin with a word of prayer, and I will do it in my language, Kiswahili. So let's bow for prayer. Kwa jina la Baba, na la Mwana, na Roho Mtakatifu. Amina. Baba yetu uliye mbinguni, jina lako litukuzwe, ufalme wako ufike, utakalo lifanyike duniani kama mbinguni. Utupe leo mkate wetu wa kila siku, utusamehe makosa yetu kama tunavyowasamehe na sisi waliotukosea. Usitutie katika kishawishini, lakini utuokoe maovuni. Amina. Jina la Baba, na la Mwana, na Roho Mtakatifu. Okay, I'm sure that many of you are not familiar with the geography of Africa. Kenya lies on the east coast of the sub-Saharan Africa. And in Africa, we've got more than 53 countries. Just like North America is made up of the US, Mexico, and Canada. So is Africa made up of so many countries. And we speak more than 2,000 languages. And if you come to Kenya, you'll find that we have 42 tribes. I am Luo, so I speak the Luo. Barack Obama's father was from my tribe, and I also speak Swahili. And today, before I continue, I would like to maybe teach you how to say hi, because I'm sure that some of you, someday, you will find yourself walking down the streets of Nairobi, and you might want to, say hi to people. So when I say this, you repeat after me, all right? Sasa. So it's actually a Swahili slang for like, how are you doing? Like, what's up? Sasa. And then you say poa. Sasa. And then, Sasa, and then you say poa, okay? Sasa. Okay, good. So one day when you find yourself in Nairobi, just say that to the local people, and they'll feel good. Okay, I'm going to give you the story of my life. I'm here today to share with you, how my life has been, how the Marianist, through the brothers and priests like Father Martin, have helped change the lives of many kids and the society in a whole. Okay, I was born 25 years ago to unemployed parents in one of the largest informal settlements in Nairobi. I have 4 sisters, I have no brother, and I am the 4th born in the family. You see, my family shared a small room, a tiny rusty shack measuring 10 by 15 feet. We had no running water. We had no electricity. We didn't have enough food to eat. And we didn't have toilets in the house. I remember having to walk more than 2 miles just to get clean drinking water. I remember having to walk more than half a mile just to go to the bathroom. Life in the slums can be very tough. Life in the ghetto can be unkind, but no one chose to be born in those kind of conditions. So many a times you will find people asking God, why? Why me? Why do I have to go through all this, misery? And to add salt to the wound, my dad was a real alcoholic. He would drink so much, come back home and unleash unprecedented violence to his family. So I grew up not knowing any form of peace. My childhood was broken at a very tender age. I cannot remember any peaceful childhood memory with my family. It was a hard life. These hardships made me become mature early. But God is always good. Once you believe in the power of God, nothing is impossible. Nothing cannot be achieved. I know here in the US, probably, religion is a very contentious subject, but I want you to believe today that there's a creator. There's someone who is looking down on you. God was good enough to bless me with a very hard-working mother. You see, my mom, she's not well educated, but she believed in the power of education. She struggled so hard to ensure that our 5 children got food every day. She persevered through all the suffering to make us get a good life. That's only what a mother would do to their kids. So I remember back in '96, when an opportunity presented itself for me to join Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School. My mom quickly looked for money. She didn't have enough money, so she had to go and borrow from a friend so that she could buy books and uniform for her son to join primary school. Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School is one of the best schools that we have in the whole slum. Mukuru Kwanzenga is a large informal settlement with more than 100,000 people living there, languishing in poverty. But Our Lady of Nazareth provides a very unique form of education to the kids living there. OLN is like an oasis in the desert. There is a huge contrast between Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School and the surrounding environment. And many kids came to Our Lady of Nazareth not because they wanted to learn, but because they wanted a safe haven for them. They wanted a place where they could smile, a place where they could play with other kids. They wanted a place where they could eat. Since Our Lady of Nazareth provide hot lunches to the pupils. They serve boiled beans and corn every day. And to most of us, this was the main meal of the day. So some kids would put the leftovers and take it back home and share it with their families. That's how life was back then. I vividly remember when I was in grade 1, back in '96, my class teacher, Mr. Henry Aricha, I remember he asked each and every one of us to tell him, what we would want to be when we grew up. There were people who said they wanted to be nurses, people who said they wanted to be doctors, teachers, lawyers. And I remember I told him that I wanted to become a pilot. Why become a pilot? So that one day I could fly away, far away from the hardships, from the trouble of Mukuru Kwanzenga, and just go away. The hard life in Mukuru gave me the energy, the determination to succeed. Since we were taught at an early age that education was the only key that would unlock the padlock of poverty. So we had to give it our best. For me, what pains me the most is the fact that we have very talented kids back there. We have very smart kids back there. But the only thing they lack is the opportunity. The only difference between me and them is that I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to further my education to high school, to further my education to college, and to live my childhood dream at the moment, being a pilot. So for me, I'm looking forward, in a world where everyone will take care of each other, in a world where we love each other, we care for each other, and we do the best to help others succeed. So I remember after my graduation in high school, I got straight A's, and I was determined to go to a flight school. And I had this conversation with Father Martin, and I remember telling him that, Father Martin, I think for me, I've always wanted to become a pilot, so I don't see the need of going to college. I've worked so hard all these years so that I go to a flight school, but he told me, Maurice, I'm sorry, we don't have enough money to take you to college. It is too expensive. It is too costly. I remember I was I was mad, I was disillusioned, and I was bitter. I asked God, why can't I achieve the dreams, that I've always wanted? Why is it that only people with money that can achieve what they want? Why not me? So, I went to college, a bitter guy, and I was surprised by myself. After a few semesters, I started liking, I enjoyed being in college, and I realized that, it was a process, it was a phase in life that I had to pass through. So I went through college for 4 years, and like you said, I graduated in 2013 with a bachelor degree, and through the help of the Marianists and many friends here in the US and all over, we got enough money for me to join a flight school. And my dream is to someday go back after I'm done with my training, go back to where I came from, and help other kids, help transform the society through education, because I know very well what it means to help someone who is down, to lift them up and give them a decent education. Because with education, anything is possible. Without education, life becomes unbearable. And some of my peers that I went through from class 1 to class 8 at Our Lady, some of them, like I said, didn't get the opportunity. And once they don't get this opportunity, they become disillusioned. They start engaging in social evils, not because they want to do it, but because that is the only option in their life. I have friends right now with many kids at a very tender age. And for me, like I've said, I'm dreaming of helping them, of creating more opportunity for kids to come and join Our Lady, creating more opportunities for kids to go to high school, and to, by doing so, at the end of the day, the society will become better. And before I conclude, I just want to say thank you, the Shamina Day family, for welcoming me to be with you today here and to share with you my story. And thank you so much for your past support to the kids of Our Lady. I want you to know that what you've done in the past has gone a long way to assisting a kid in need. And please keep praying for the kids there, and we'll also keep you in our prayers. And I hope that this relationship is going to continue. Thank you so much. God bless you, and keep doing amazing stuff to
so much. I want to elaborate just a little bit on one of the stories that Maurice told. I remember very well the day he came at the end of his secondary school and said that, can I start a flight school? Now, we had somebody who was willing to support him. From my point of view, I said, Maurice, get your college education first. Get a firm foundation so that your dream is built on something that's solid. And as he said at the end, it's really education that's the key in terms of development as far as the Society of Married Eastern Africa. I'd like to show you a video now. It's a short video that we put together in this past year. And it illustrates, you'll see exactly what Maurice was talking about. It shows sections of the Mukuru slum, but also the school. And it interviews a number of people that hopefully you'll find very interesting. So Eric and Adrian, if we could have them.
The Marianists who served in Eastern Africa were enchanted by its beauty. The expansive valleys, open savannas, and abundant wildlife. But it's the people who touch them most. The families and children who forever changed their lives and the way they see the world. Invited by the church in the 1960s, they came to serve as teachers and administrators in Catholic schools. They soon founded Chaminade Secondary School in Karanga, a small city in rural Malawi, and Matero Boys Secondary School in Lusaka, Zambia. But not long after their arrival, they saw that poverty had a crippling hold on the lives of far too many people. In the countries of Kenya, Malawi, and Zambia, where the Marianists serve, almost half of the population lived in abject poverty. The Marianists were determined to make a difference, to help the youngest and poorest develop their God-given talents and reach for a better life. There are few good jobs in rural Africa. Poverty is pervasive. Most people grow their food and sell what they can at local markets. It's a hard life. Many migrate to big cities in search of something better. But the transition to city living is fraught with difficulties.
When they come from the rural areas and come to the cities, they often come without skills, and so they do not get the work that they think that should be giving them an income. They end up only finding casual work, maybe as construction workers, as house helps. And what it means is that they are not able to live a good life in the urban areas. They end up living in the slum areas.
The slums are especially dangerous, with densely packed housing and little or no police protection. Yet in Nairobi, Kenya's largest city, where the Marianists sponsor several ministries, 85% of the population, nearly 3 million people, live in one of 5 gigantic slums. Most slums house more than 450,000 people. The conditions are appalling.
It's pretty inhuman in a lot of ways. Most houses don't have electricity. There's no inside plumbing. There's no sewer system. There's no running water in homes. None of that. Typically, these houses are made from corrugated iron over wood. The sewers are just open outside, so the smell is horrendous.
To partner with those living in extreme poverty, the Marianists adopted 2 educational strategies: primary schooling, particularly for children living in a slum in Nairobi, and skills training, especially for young adults, working mothers, and AIDS orphans. The Marianists sponsor a school called Our Lady of Nazareth in one of Nairobi's largest slums. It's a lifeline for many poor children. The school has more than 2,000 students in kindergarten through 8th grade. In 2007, they added a new computer lab and will soon open a media center. In addition to academics, the Marianists offer a wide range of extracurricular activities.
Education is more than just academics. We follow the characteristics of Marianist education, so we try to create a family environment, quality education, a faith community. So we support the faith of the students. That's important. That's why we're there.
The school also provides students with a hot breakfast each morning called uji, a type of porridge, and lunch. For many, this is the only food they will eat all day.
The food situation is also very challenging for many families. When you get a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old who's had no breakfast, that affects their learning capability. They get sleepy, they fall asleep, they can't be as focused. They like coming to the school. And in fact, what we have to do very often is chase them away at the end of the day because the school is safe, it's hospitable, it's friendly. We have a beautiful library there, and we have electricity, and we have water. So all of those things are real pluses for these kids. Kids know that education is their way out of the slums. It's the key for their future. And so they're focused, it's valuable to them.
Working in the slums, the Marianists noticed unwed mothers and pregnant women were particularly vulnerable. Many had been abandoned by their husbands and had no work skills. The Marianists felt it was critical to help. African
women are really central to the family. They hold the families together. They really do. And in the slum areas, they're really essential. I've heard people say, when you educate a woman, you educate the whole family.
The Marianists started the Imani projects to provide these women with counseling, skills training, and daycare for the children. The women are offered an array of technical training so they can earn an income and support their families. Thousands have graduated from this program since its inception in 1986. Imani also provides skills training for young adults in Nairobi, such as electrical, metalwork, catering, hairdressing, and other trades that empower them to earn a living. The Marianists operate a similar program in the Kenyan coastal city of Mombasa. Training is the first step. The Marianists also created a program to help graduates succeed through small loans and business counseling.
We also run a small microfinance project or program, which when they finish, they are not able to get the job, we give them small loans, and this they do in groups, maybe of 9 or 10, so that they are accountable to each other. And if one faults, then they have to check what is happening to our member, and that gives them the support that they need. So we change their lives by moving them from a dependent situation to be independent and to say, I am a human person, I am able to take care of myself.
HIV/AIDS has devastated many African countries. Though new medications are improving the lives of people living with the disease, AIDS has long-term consequences.
You go to the rural areas in Malawi, and what greets you is grandmothers who are taking care of their grandchildren. We have young people who are taking care of their siblings because the parents have passed on. It affects every part of life in the community.
To help the community, especially young adults orphaned as a result of AIDS, the Marianists began a skills training program in Karanga, Malawi called Miracle. Here, young people are offered classes in social well-being and job skills. Electrical installation, bricklaying, tailoring, and catering are some of the trades that enable students to get a job or start their own business. Thousands of students have graduated from this program since it was launched 15 years ago. There are 175 million Roman Catholics in Africa, one of the fastest growing Catholic regions in the world. Today, more than 50 Marianist brothers and priests in Eastern Africa partner with the poor to improve their lives. Their impact is inspiring.
When you give a young person the opportunity to go to school, to train, and then you unlock this unbelievable capacity in them, you give them a lifeline.
So kids who initially were living in the slum areas, kids who were initially were doing odd jobs, put them through the education, and it's the greatest development that you can give to that child. They become someone. They become resourceful to themselves. They become an asset to the society.
For me, it's a real charge to see kids take their God-given talents, to see those developed, and to see them able to live a dream. Sometimes when I give talks to people in parishes and so on, people will come up and they say, I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty. You know, I have a nice home, I have nice cars, we take vacations, we have good education, we have running water. I feel so guilty. And I tell them, you know, guilt is not an evangelical response. The evangelical response is, first of all, gratitude. Gratitude. Realizing that, yes, there are inequities in our world. We happen to have a lot of benefits, so be grateful for that. The second one is generosity.
One way to be generous is through the student sponsorship program at Our Lady of Nazareth. For just $125 a year, you can help a child attend primary school.
Our overhead is about 2%. So 98 cents on a dollar goes right to that school, right to those kids. And I think that's a pretty good percentage. So for me, that's a real plus. That's a wonderful thing to see. We're helping these kids physically, we're helping them educationally, we're helping them socially, and it's making a difference. And as I say, a little bit goes a long way.
There are many ways you can help.
I would like people to know that our mission in the region is a spiritual mission, it's a development mission. It goes back to the Magnificat of Mary. And finally, I want people to know that they are invited in any way possible to be part of singing this Magnificat with us in whatever way they have, in whatever talents they have, because we believe everybody has something to offer.
And Father Marty, again, we'd like to extend our thanks for joining us today. We'll now have a brief interview and ask you a few questions. So, first question. What did you enjoy most about your Marianist education at Our Lady of Nazareth?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, that's a very good question. Honestly, for me, I enjoyed mostly the meal that the school provided to the kids, because having this meal at the end of the day was beneficial to my own growth, and also just growing up with other kids, playing together, and having like a peace of mind at the school.
As the video said, many of the kids who come to school, the meals are the only ones that they get in the day, and that food is provided by the World Food Organization. So the children get maize and beans every day, so they get protein. And because of the kindness of some people here, we've also been able to provide a porridge in the morning about 10 o'clock. A lot of those little kids, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they come to school without anything. So to provide them with a big cup of porridge at 10 o'clock in the morning really gives a boost, and they're healthy.
So, Maurice, what would you say the greatest challenge was that you had to overcome to get where you are now?
Okay, thank you for the question. The greatest challenge would be, trying to balance the chaotic environment, the violence at home, and still being able to pursue, my studies comfortably. So I really had to, keep telling to myself that regardless of, my family situation, I had to study. I had to, study. So that would be one of the main challenges that I faced.
Maurice, you had no electricity in the house.
Yeah, I spent almost 20 years without knowing any benefit of electricity. And if I remember sometime late 2010, 2009, that's when people living in the slums, they started like tapping electricity from the main transmission. So it was kind of an illegal connection, but still, people, with the new technology, people are getting phones, mobile phones. People are buying radios, and they need energy. So people, devise means to get illegal electricity connection. But for most of my life, we didn't have any electricity.
Maurice, could you say something about the quality of life in the slums, especially the violence?
Yeah, most of the violence, if you look deeply into it, you will find that youths are the ones that are mostly associated with the violence in the slums. Why? This is because most of them are unemployed. They don't have jobs to support themselves. They don't have education, so violence and drugs, that's their way of life. And
Now, at Our Lady of Nazareth, I'm sure many people, teachers and students, had a great impact on you. Which person had the greatest impact on you?
oh, that's a tricky one. I would say that at Our Lady, we are like a family, and we are there for each other. But I can vividly remember Mr. Henry Arita, when I first joined grade 1, he laid a very solid foundation, and he instilled a high level of discipline into us. He knew that we could do better in life, so he did what he could to. The funny thing, as students, we don't see when our parents or when elder people they try to tell us to do this, but we find it that maybe it's boring, or maybe it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, I would give credit to Mr. Richa for what he did. At that time, I didn't see it as a good thing, but now I can look back and say thank you. He really helped me a lot. Yeah.
So what would you say would be one thing that maybe the video didn't address that would be something about Our Lady of Nazareth that you wish people knew more about, just from your experience?
Yeah, from my experience, these kids, they're just the same as kids in any other country. They're just kids like you, like me. We are the same. And kids at Our Lady of Nazareth Primary School, they're very talented. They have immense, talent in them. They can do great things. They are very smart. But one thing that people don't realize is that these kids, when they are done with their education, they don't get an opportunity to further, their education, to even do some training, just get ready to the job market. So if when these talents, these brilliance, going to waste because of lack of opportunity for these young kids.
Maybe some statistics could be helpful. Only about half of the students who finish primary school are able to get into secondary school. It's 50%. And those who finish secondary school, only about 5% get into a university because the opportunities just aren't there. I think one of the realities that always impressed me was we here in the United States have such a tremendous opportunity for education. Students here can go almost anywhere they want, and they can become almost anything they want to become. Yes, some don't succeed, and sometimes you have to borrow money and so on. It's not always easy, but so many of the kids there, when they say they want to be lawyers or doctors or pilots or whatever, you know that probably for 95% of those students, those dreams will never happen, simply because they don't have the opportunity. And it's just the inequalities of our world. Some places have lots of benefits. And that's why I said in the video that I think the first thing we have to do is be grateful. Be grateful for this school. This is a great school. Be grateful for the education, for the good teachers, for the good administrators you have. This is a wonderful school. And all of you can become almost anything you want. One of the things that seems to me that's really important as you think about your future, what can you do? What kind of career can you follow that maybe can make our world a little bit better to right some of these inequalities? We can't do everything, but we make choices in our life about what we'd like to do, about who we'd like to become, about what vocation we want to follow. And if some of you can volunteer, lots of students after university, they volunteer for a year or two, or they give more time, or they choose careers that will help to address these kinds of global kinds of issues.
Maurice, what one guiding principle or value did you learn at Our Lady that still resonates with you today?
I would say that being of good help to others and believe in God in whatever you do, and hard work. So that's some of the values that my teachers and my other students at Our Lady, helped me, achieve. So hard work, being spiritual, and being of good service to other people in our society. Yeah, with my education, when I go back, hopefully, I'm praying very hard that I get a good job with one of the air carriers, and work as a pilot, and try, to support my family, and go back to Our Lady of Nazareth and sponsor some kids, because I know when I go with this training that I've got already, when I go back home, I'll be in a better position to help support other people. So my dream is to see other kids smile, to pull them away from, pull them up and help them, be on their feet. So that's what I'll do with my training when I go back.
Now, obviously, donating money does a lot for Our Lady of Nazareth, but what things can we do here at Chaminade that can also be really helpful for you?
First and almost, I would say, keep us in your prayers, and we'll also do the same. And secondly, I would say you have a very wonderful opportunity. You are very lucky to be here. I don't think we have got any school in my country that have got this kind of facility. So the best you could do, for us, just use the opportunity that you have right now, become better people, you know, and become whoever you want to be. So that will make us happy.
Just want to emphasize again that be grateful for what you have, be kind to one another, and perhaps find ways even locally that you can help people who are less fortunate. One of the reasons that I embraced the life of a brother when I did it after high school was because my faith was important to me, Christ was important, and I felt that I had been really blessed and had a lot of benefits. And I knew a lot of people that didn't, so wanted to do that. So that's something we can do every day. Be kind to one another, help other people, and grow in our faith.
Well, that's all we have for this interview, so thank you very much.
I believe Father Martin just said that he has something that he wants to give us, so that is what he's doing.
Yeah, I have a little gift for the Shamina family that I would like to present to you. I think I'll give it to Martin and Danny to present it. It's a batik of the Last Supper. Just it's a way for me, for us, of saying thank you, for being there for us. Thank you for your prayers and everything. So that little gift, will go a long way to ensuring that our relationship is maintained. Thank you.
Maurice and Father Marty, as a sign of our appreciation for you coming to speak at our school today, we would like to give you your very own Chaminade polo, a Chaminade Mission Week t-shirt, and Mission Week sweatband. Thank you so much. Will come to the podium and dismiss everyone back to Minter.